Okay, great. And we'll get started. So, hi, I'm Colleen, president at 43North, and I'm joined today by Nadia Hamilton, one of our founders, as well as Julie Johnson from the Buffalo Public Schools. So, today we're going to have a conversation with Nadia regarding her experiences in high school and college and how they helped create her career as well as her as a person. So, Nadia, welcome.
Hello,
Tell
happy to
us,
be here.
thank you so much for your time in advance. Let's just kick things off so everyone knows kind of where you ended up. So tell us, physically where you are now, as well as the company that you created.
So physically, I'm in Toronto, Canada, and my company is called Magnusmode, and we leverage technology to enable people with autism and other cognitive disabilities to live with greater freedom and independence in the world.
Amazing. So Nadia, knowing you have a very personal connection to autism and therefore the company itself, the company's founding, tell us though the story briefly about why you founded this company.
Sure. It all started with my brother, Troy. So Troy has autism. And when we were growing up, I drew out step-by-step guides to help him to navigate things around the home, like, for example, brushing teeth or getting dressed in the morning, because people with autism struggle with day-to-day tasks that you and I might take for granted. Like, for example, brushing teeth. So Troy would wait for one of us to prompt him, and he'd need our assistance to do the task on his own, or, to get through the task. So I actually drew out step-by-step guides on pieces of paper, posted them to the walls of our apartment where we grew up in Toronto, and Troy would go and follow along with the activities to do things on his own. And it really marked the difference between a life of dependency and a life of agency, and being able to take his day and his activities and his life into his own hands. And so the problem, though, happened or became most salient when Troy graduated from high school. So when a lot of you guys are graduating from high school, you're going to face a world of opportunities. But for people with autism and cognitive disabilities, that really is sort of the end of the road. So there's not very many supports for them in the community that exists today. And so I wanted to build a company that took this idea of hand-drawn step-by-step guides that I knew worked for my brother when we were growing up, and turn them into a digital, like a mobile app that presents digital step-by-step guides for things like, taking the bus or going grocery shopping or using a bank card that he could follow to live both at home, but also in the world as a full participant. And so that's how the story started with Magnus Mode.
Amazing. That's just so helpful to have that top of mind as we dive into the conversation. So let's go back a little trip down memory lane. Tell us about high school. Where were you in terms of place for high school? And tell us about your general high school experience, classes that you took or that you liked, and essentially what did you do when not in the classroom?
Okay, so I went to an all-girls Catholic secondary school. So it was in the beaches in Toronto, and there were nuns in my school. And we had to go to mass, and we had religion was our first subject. When I wasn't, or okay, classes that I took: history, political science, math, the requirements, but then you also had electives. I loved art. So obviously the skills of drawing for my brother they never would have existed if I didn't have that kind of personal connection to art. So I loved art and design, and my biggest love, I guess, was history, because I love learning about things that happened and how that shaped the way that we are today. And political science was great too. And when I wasn't in class, I was on the basketball court or on the softball field or hockey rink. I played every single sport. I was most valuable player on most teams, and athlete of the year every single year throughout high school. So I was
Oh my
always
God,
playing sports.
Nadia.
Wow.
I was always playing sports. I was also always playing chess. So I was captain of the chess team, student council, vice president. and a chess champion in Toronto when I was 14, 15, and 16, I think.
Nadia, all these hidden secrets. Wow,
It was good time.
amazing. Wow, wow, wow. So how did you do it all? Or what do you think sparked so much interest in such a diverse, extracurricular activity schedule?
Um, I think I just have a lot of energy, and I think I just don't like doing nothing. And so it was always about like just keeping busy, but also I just get energized by setting and meeting goals. Like, um, if it was chess, I wanted to be the best at that. So I practice and I practice and I practice and I became the best. And then if it was sports, I wanted to excel in that. And I think it was just about like kind of putting all my passion and my energy towards being and doing the best that I could in different areas. And that was always my goal. I don't know where it comes from, but I guess it was just something I always just wanted to do. It made me happy to meet my own personal goals and to achieve things I hadn't done before.
Sure. So that very much sounds like the mentality that you need to be a founder, all hands on deck. You're chasing the stream of creating a business, making it uber successful. So tell us, were there ever any instances in high school where you thought about being a founder or that entrepreneurship was of interest to you or not really in high school?
Nope. I had no idea that it was even an option. Like it wasn't something I was even planning on. I thought that when I graduated from high school, I was gonna either be a police officer or join the army or like do something. I always wanted to serve, and both of those things allow for kind of meeting goals and like setting goals and moving up the tiers and getting like medals and stuff like that. I love that sort of thing. So those are the kind of things I was interested in. Also law, because a lot of my family are in like law, police, and military. Like it's all about service. So I was probably going to end up in those fields, but I actually went through basic training for the military, and well, a couple weeks of it, and then I decided I didn't like taking orders that much. In that style.
Understood completely. So Nadia, it sounds like you had an incredible high school experience. Is there anything that you would have done differently?
Probably not. I mean, I didn't have a lot of like I didn't like go to all the dances, and I didn't like because we had like a brother school where all the boys were. And I don't know, I just was wasn't really interested at the time. And I guess like I would have had more of a social, I don't know, I thought I had a great social life with the athletes on my team. And I wouldn't change anything, because I think it allowed me to focus on what I wanted to do, and and just really focus on me. And I think that's important. I think it's really important to know what you want and to define your own goals, not based on trends or what other people want. So I'm really happy that I did that, because I think it made me the person that I am today, and that I really am not going to let anybody else get in the way of what I want to do or what I want to achieve. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. Julie, anything on high school before I switch gears?
Yeah. Just real quick, can you just speak about like your friend circle, I guess, in high school? Like, are you still friends with people that you were close to? Like, who did you surround yourself with in high school?
Yeah, in high school, I was a jock. So all my friends were jocks. But I also was friend with the academics, so I was part of the nerd group as well. Nerd. So I think I was like the nerdy jock group. And I'm still friends with my best friend I met in high school. Three of my best friends I've met in high school, and we're still friends. And two of them don't even live in the same city, but we're still very, very close. And I actually still talk to, like, in terms of like on social media, a lot of people I went to school with are still in my circle, my broader circle. We're just not like close. But they're still there. We still know what's going on in each other's lives. We still care, and we still have that bond of, okay, ND, Notre Dame spirit. But other than that, it's kind of like we're very different. Like we went down very different paths for the most part. And although we have that respect and love, we don't have a reoccurring role in each other's lives.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk about college. So talk us through, while in high school, the kind of process you went through to choose your college, or what were you thinking as you approached junior and senior year as to what college might look like for you, Nadia?
Well, I went to university, the University of Toronto, and it was never an option not to go to university. It's interesting, and it might have just been culturally. My older sister and my older brother went to university, so it was not an option that I wasn't going to university. And obviously, like, from my background, so my half my family's from Guyana and half of them are from Jamaica, and so I'm a third generation I guess called immigrant or something to this country. I was born here, but my grandparents came over, and they really have a strong work ethic. It was always like, we sacrificed to come here, and you kind of grow up with that understanding. We sacrifice this and this, so get your education, do what you can, do your best, blah blah blah. And it's just always something you want to do, because it's like you want to make your family proud, and it's not just for your family, but you recognize that you'll have the best opportunity if the further along I think that you are able to get, you have more options. But when looking back, that's the mindset at the time. But when looking back, I didn't necessarily have to to do what I'm doing today. And I do think it contributes, though, because I think it honed my work ethic in terms of like, there's bigger projects, there's bigger stakes and stuff like that in university, and you kind of get that ethic of like, okay, I've got to pace myself, I've got to organize, blah blah blah. That's a little different from high school, but if you already have that, you don't necessarily need to go to university. I think it's interesting. Like, my path has led me to this point, but it could have gone many different ways to get to this point. But I think, in a way, everything that got me to this point had to happen. But I'm not quite sure how it all works. But yeah.
Awesome. I love it. So tell us about University of Toronto. Did you dorm there? Were you commuting? And what did you study?
Yeah, I never had the dorm experience. I kind of regretted that. I always, like, my family home is very near campus. So although I was able to save the money because I wasn't like dorming, I never had that, okay, I'm living with other people experience, which, I don't really mind that when I look back. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I missed that. I never got that. But I like my space. Like, I love my space, and I love being able to have that independence. So I'm not sure it would have been something I liked. But I commuted every day, and I study history and political science. Go figure. Again, nothing to do with what I ended up doing, which is business, but I think it gives good context for your understanding of the world. And there's many things that happened in politics and in history, and they're happening today that impact the way that I run my business. I was watching the election very closely because it's going to impact the way I run my business, like Canadian and US politics. So I think it's about just taking the learnings from whatever field or from whatever path you go down. There's application to business. Like, it could have been that I studied social science, or it could have been that I studied mathematics. There could be application to starting a business no matter what.
I love it. And I think it's really true. So tell us, freshman year for most is a huge transition, right? You're going to a place, particularly if you are dorming, but even if you're not, right, you're still going somewhere every day where you don't know everyone, not everyone knows your name. They don't know much about you. So talk to us about how you embraced the transition to college and made the best of it.
Well, I didn't much like it at first because it was a new environment and I was so comfortable in high school. And it's like, oh, most of my friends aren't coming this way. And it's like only a few and it's just different. And so I remember my first day, actually, I was walking through like the main area and I was really, really thin at that time. Like I was a lot thinner than I am now. So
You're like a twig now.
I was even skinnier then. And I remember walking through the main area and there was this woman came up to me and she's like, do you want to model in our show? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I will never forget. She then critiqued me from head to toe, said my shoulders were too broad, which my shoulders are pretty broad for my stature. My shoulders were too broad. This is wrong. 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 You need to change it and change it. And then I just realized, okay, so university is going to be like it's different because in high school I was on top of the world, like nothing, not like nobody could touch me.
Like, you're in a safe little bubble in high school.
Yeah. Student council president, like everybody knows me, blah, blah, blah. And then university was like, you are literally like garbage, like not garbage, but like you're at the bottom again. And it's like, now you got to work your way up and you'll never be like nobody in that whole place. Everybody will never know you. And so like, you're always going to be just a nobody to most people or just a face. And that's a huge transition, like from knowing everybody in a high school and to everybody's a stranger. And so that was difficult, but I think, you begin to form your groups. I joined a bunch of clubs. I played varsity volleyball and I began to form groups. Again, varsity volleyball was different though than high school volleyball because they were very cutthroat, like very, very cutthroat. If you made a mistake, your own team would turn on you. But no, it was just really cutthroat. But no, it was different, but I learned to adapt and it became enjoyable to me. I also went to a university that wasn't really huge. Like I went a campus that it was called Scarborough campus and it was a smaller campus. So it had more of a easy transition. So I didn't go from, small high school to Harvard. So, it was more of an easy transition, but at the same time, it was different. And, different is not always comfortable at first, but you learn to build a new persona and navigate your way around the school. Another thing that really, really bugged me for a long time was everybody kept saying, check the intranet. And I'm like, I'm checking the internet. I can't find the course material. What's the intranet? And it took me like 3 semesters to figure out it was a separate thing. So like there's less hand holding and that was that's not hard for somebody who's like used to being able to be like, hey, what are you just, help me here. Tell me, like, give me what you want me to do and I'll do it.
Yeah. Kind of safety net is a bit broad.
Yeah.
It widens the net. So Nadia, talk to us about your curriculum there. Had you found any inspiration to be a founder or an entrepreneur yet? Or were you kind of like, what was the vision for career while you were in college?
Well, around that time, I kind of started to think, well, what am I really passionate about? Like, is it like I love the idea of serving people. I will do it forever and volunteer or whatever. I still do. But is it what I want to like drive my life? You know what I mean? And I thought maybe there's a way of like connecting, serving people, and especially helping, the person, my brother, and the people like him that are near and dear to my heart. Maybe there's a way of connecting that to an economic future. For me. So I started having those thoughts, honestly, like probably like year 3. And especially as I started to think like, I don't want to be an academic. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. I started to really hone in on like, what do I want to do? So, so around the time I graduated, actually, I was like, okay, I'm going to try going through basic training And then that didn't work for me. And I was like, okay, so what do I really want to do? And I was like racking my brain. And then I remember seeing like my brother on the couch because he had graduated from high school a couple of years ago, and seeing him on the couch just like playing his video game and thinking like, I have the luxury of asking myself what I want to do and having all these choices, and he doesn't. And I believe intrinsically that it's a right that we all should have. And so I started to think about like ways that I could leverage my own talents and help him. And I'm like, okay, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at that. And around that time, it was really like serendipitous or magical or something, that I was on my computer and I saw this icon in the corner of the screen, just like a tiny ad that said, social business competition. Do you have an idea? Enter and you can win funding to start your social purpose business. And I clicked it. And I entered, I filled out the form and I entered. And I entered with the idea of taking those same hand-drawn, step-by-step guides and making them into a mobile app that was that enabled sponsorship from companies and restaurants that want to be more accessible to people like Troy. So I entered on that idea, and I went through like a Dragon's Den style pitch competition and all sorts of things. I remember one part of the competition, we had to get votes. And so I went around the whole city and I got people we had to create a video. I got people to hold up a piece of paper saying their connection to people with autism. And I got the mayor and I got the police chief and I got everybody. And then I sliced it all together into like this video where it's like brother, sister, cousin, aunt, friend, blah, 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 blah. And then the competition went really well and I ended up winning. And that's changed the course of my life forever. And from then on, it's just been like, business is what I do. And I learned it. I had to learn it like through doing it, through living it, through mentors, and had to soak up all that knowledge and apply it like literally while I was doing it. Because I had no background in business. I didn't have a degree in business. I had no training whatsoever in business. And so it was all very much intuitive, and also the desire and the fire and the passion to learn and apply what I learned on the spot.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that myself. Wow. And so a lot of the students that
A well of secrets.
a lot of the students that may listen to this, may find themselves in similar situations, if not already, but as they go to college and maybe figure out becoming a doctor isn't for them, or becoming a nurse, or whatever it might be. So talk a little bit more about where you found the courage to run with your idea. And as part of that, how did you ask for help, or how did you find help? Because clearly you need that. We all need that, almost every day, right?
Yeah.
How did you kind of create the network around you to allow the business to kind of become a thing?
Courage. It was courage under fire. It was necessity. I felt like I had to do something for the person. Like, I love my brother. We are he's my best friend. We look like twins. And we've always been the ones in my family. I've got 4 other siblings. We've always been the ones that are really, really tight. And it hurt me to see him not have the opportunities that other people did. And so it was almost like there was no other choice for me. It's my brother. And so it was almost like the courage came from necessity and love and passion. And also like just this, I honestly think it was like an underlying belief that whatever I did, whatever I decided to do, I would find a way. And I still have that. And it might be a direct correlation to my high school years and how and my university years, and how I was able to achieve things because I thought I was going to achieve them, because I was dedicated to. So I have this real unfailing trust and faith in myself. And yeah, I fail all the time. And sometimes I set those goals and I don't meet them. But there's always another way. And in those instances, I always think like, okay, well then I wasn't meant to happen then. If I put my best into it and it didn't happen, it wasn't meant to happen. There'll be something better along shortly. And so it's like this positivity and this idealism that shapes my worldview. Sometimes it's too idealistic. Sometimes rose-colored glasses make you blind to risks sometimes, or like, not like things that you should be paying attention to. But it's just how I am. And I just tend to see the positive in every situation. What was the other question?
The kind of, so I really appreciate that response, because I can see it in you as someone that has gotten to know you. Like how you approach building a support system around you or a network of folks to help you, because you weren't studying business, right?
Yeah.
You found this idea in which you wanted to serve, and then found a way through business to do it. So talk about how you learned about accounting or marketing or how to form a business.
Well, one thing I consider a very, very true strength of my own is that I'm not afraid to ask for help. And I have always been like, if I can't do, okay, I know my abilities, I know what I can do, I know what I can't. If I know that I cannot do something, I'm not going to, waste a ton of time doing something to do it wrong. And so I've always been like, all right, I need assistance in this area. And it's not that I get somebody to do it for me. It's like, okay, what are the specific areas that I need mentorship in or guidance in or further learning? And then I draw the right people in. And identifying them is also a really important skill, because sometimes you get like the wrong people, and I've gotten some of the wrong people too, and that skill hones over time. But like, I think it's always been like, okay, find people through either, online or networking. Like I talk to people I'm beside on a plane, and I'm like, okay, what do you do? Who are you? Blah, 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 blah. What do you like? Blah, blah, blah. And then you never know, like that person could end up being somebody to help you in the future. So putting yourself out there and just being like, willing to engage with anybody, no matter what they look like or what they might appear to like be into or whatever. Just, opening yourself up. What do you do? What are you looking for? And then also opening yourself up for helping others too, because a lot of times when you offer your services or you show a willingness to do things for people, they're willing to do things for you too. So I think that's important, but also it was luck. Like there was a lot of luck too. Like like when I pitched in the competition, the first one, my first mentor, who's still with me to this day and became the first investor in my company, was in the audience. And so she happened to be there when I knocked it out of the park. And she then said, hey, I'd like to mentor you. 6 months later of mentorship, she'd like, I'd like to invest in this business. And at the time, I'm like, what does that mean? Okay. That sounds cool. Because I didn't know what that was. And so like learning from her was instrumental to like what I was able to how I was able to grow as an entrepreneur, but also a female entrepreneur as well, as we have unique challenges and unique issues that we have to face as female entrepreneurs. And it's fantastic to have had a woman in my corner, a powerful woman who was successful and smart, and have her as not only a mentor, but as a sort of somebody to look up to, I guess.
Sure. And also a friend, right? They want to
Yeah.
see you succeed. So that's
Yeah,
really
it can be lonely. It can be lonely.
Yeah.
Sometimes like, as an entrepreneur, if you don't have people surrounding you that understand what you're going through and how hard it is, because it's hard. It's hard, but it's also like, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I find it so rewarding. And I love being able to control sort of my destiny in terms of my impact on the world.
I couldn't agree more. And I also really loved your point about getting out there. The folks that I talk to or mentor, it's, why not go work from a coffee shop, right? You never know who's going to sit next to you. If you can afford the $2 coffee, go put yourself out there.
Exactly.
The plane is the perfect example, or, someone in line with you at the DMV, or even students in your own class, right? You just never know who's going to be able to support. So I agree with that very much.
Yeah, I remember I was on a plane once and I just started talking to the guy beside me, and it turns out he was the CEO of a major company, and I didn't know that. We were just talking about movies.
Right.
So, I think just being open, and I think a lot of young people think that the world is closed to them and they can't reach out to certain people who have a certain title, but you'd be surprised. Like, these people want to hear from you. They are inspired by your youth and your energy, and it really can take you far.
Yeah, and more often than not, they were in someone's shoes just decades before, right? We've all been there. We all started from
Exactly.
somewhere. So I respect that a lot. Julie, anything on college that I'm forgetting?
Well, more just on your company and your idea. So you had your idea and your sketches that you made for your brother, and so we have these ideas. How do you get that on an app? Like, what suggestions would you give for our students to then turn that into technology, your ideas into technology, and how did you go about that?
Well, honestly, I would suggest first, one thing I didn't do that I always suggest is to either find if you're not in tech, if you have no skill in technology yourself, find a co-founder that does. And that will save you a world of trouble later, because you really need someone who speaks that language. And if you can get them as a co-founder who have skin in the game from day one, then you're good. Like, you need somebody with the business and sales piece, and then you need somebody with the product piece, and those two are kind of the bread and butter to get started. And I think you need some funding. Technology is not cheap. What I ended up doing is when I won that competition, I won a grant, and I outsourced the development, because it wasn't a large grant, it was quite small, but I outsourced the development of our first version to China, which helped to cut development costs significantly. Now, the product that we got back was not what we're using today, and it was pretty rough. Like, it was, it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good, but it, there were issues. So you get what you pay for at the same time, and this is where a technical person would have come in handy, because I was working directly with this team, and there was something lost in translation, I think. So, but we were able to get something that we could use as a minimum viable product. And then we got that out to the market as fast as possible. And the biggest thing I think that I've seen is a lot of companies can get to that point where we've got a product, and then they don't sell it. For some reason, they don't ensure that it can be sold, or they don't commercialize it. And that was something that, I was dragging my feet a little bit. As a chess player, I was like, okay, before I move this piece, what's going to happen in 15 moves? I'm not moving until I know. So I was dragging my feet, and I was taking a while at first. And then I remember my mentor said, look, you just got to move. You just got to move. Like, you're not going to be able to predict everything, just move. And I was like, okay, fine. So I started calling companies. I was like, look, you want to, you can sponsor the development of branded digital guides that walk people through your museum or your library. We started with library, started small, and got a lot of closed doors, not going to lie. Like, a lot of people were like, I don't get it. I don't want it. But in sales, if you're like I tend to be really my sales training came from actually a job I had in university, which was, I was a driveway sealer. So it was my first and only other job, actually. So I went door to door and I sold the service of driveway sealing, which is tar. You spray tar on the driveway. So I would sell it. And well, first of all, they take us in this van and they drop us into a neighborhood at 7 a.m. And then you'd be up from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. selling door to door. And if you didn't sell anything, then, you didn't eat. So door to door, you sold it and then you perform the service. So you were providing the quote, you're doing the sale, you're doing the transaction, then you're spraying the driveway with tar. And so it was tough, and there was a lot of doors closed in my face. But I learned how to sell in that job and how not to take no and how to handle objections. And I quickly became the #1 salesperson in that company. And
why do I not find that surprising?
it was fun, but it was hard. It was hard. Like I was covered in tar at 10 p.m. It was hard. Kudos to those people. But yeah, I think it's like that same, like, don't give up and, just make the sale, like make it happen. Because if you don't make the ask, then you're never gonna, you always can expect no.
I couldn't agree more. And I also think it's important to note, like, the jobs that we take earlier on in our lives, as like silly or useless as they might seem at the time, the mentalities that they and skill sets that they provide that we can then take with us later in life and become useful, with this being a very, very specific example, are invaluable, right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Well, Nadia, I'm very conscious of the time. So that is kind of all I had on my list, except for like parting words. Julie, did you have any other topics that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think we did a pretty good job covering everything. Thank you, Nadia.
So
yeah, so inspired.
Well, Nadia, I mean, so this is probably going to be played in front of a class of high school students that think they have an interest in entrepreneurship. They might want to go try to find a way to work for themselves someday. So with all that said, in your experience, is there anything that you'd want to leave them with?
Well, like the Nike adage says, just do it. But also I think find something you're passionate, find a problem you're passionate about solving. And if you can solve the problem, then you've got the makings of a business. And a problem being like, okay, what are pain points in everyday life? Like, COVID's a huge one right now. Or, there's so many, like I drive down the street and I think of 100 ideas a day. And I'm really looking forward to starting more than one business, business after business after business. I would love that to be my sort of legacy or path forward. So I think like my message is just like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of failure. Because failure actually makes you stronger, and it's not a permanent failure. It's just a small setback usually to your grander vision and what's in store for you. And I'd also say, follow your dreams and follow your heart. And if you can find something to do that makes your heart happy and makes your life, feel like it has meaning, then you'll want to do it every single day, no matter what. And there's going to be days as an entrepreneur where you just feel like, I don't know, jumping off a cliff. But that passion and that inspiration will keep you grounded in a good way. So
awesome. Amazing.
That's great for our young people to hear, because they have millions of options right now, right? Like, so just there's so many different directions they can choose to go in, and to follow your heart, right? That's like the biggest part of it. So you enjoy getting up and doing your job every day in your career.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry, just one thing. I just thought of this while you were speaking. I'm so sorry. But you created this for your brother. Have you found a change in his life from your product? Like, does he use it? And what have you seen from your product?
Yeah. So, I mean, Troy is first of all, he's our lead product tester.
Yeah.
So every single new card deck, we call them card decks because they look like digital cards. Every single new one that comes out, he takes a look at that and he kind of gives his stamp of approval. So that's his little role right now. Hopefully bring him on full time one day. That would be great if he wants to.
Yeah.
But he also uses it in his spare time. I mean, he's really into working out right now. And so he's got a set that guides him through his daily workout routine. And so every single morning at like 8:30, he's on the treadmill, and then he swipes and he's doing his weights, and then he swipes and then he's following the instructions for this and that and this and that. And so it's really, to me, it's seeing the look of fulfillment on someone's face when they are doing it on their own. And we've had several events where we invite people from the community out to like the museum or art galleries or places that we're partnered with that have the card decks. And Troy always comes out to those events as well when they're in the city. And to see 250 people using different devices and navigating their way around, it's really something, because their parents come up to me and they say, usually I have to take that person by the arm and drag them through. And now they're leading, and with Troy, he was able to lead a group, you know what I mean? So
Oh, wow.
it's a difference in, independence means different things to different people. And meeting one's own milestones and being able to participate in the world and the community in a way that is meaningful to you is the definition of freedom to me. And so that is very, very inspiring and exciting to bring to life.
Thank you.
Amazing, Nadia, so inspirational. All right, well, thank you. Thank you. I hope the border opens soon so we can have you down here.
That'll be great. I
in
miss
the
it.
office, and
I miss it.
down here. But we wish you well, always. And thank you. We are greatly appreciative of your time. This is an invaluable conversation that I know will affect many.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all the students. And find us online. Do research. We're Magnusmode, www.magnusmode.com.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nadia. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you.
Well,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.